Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the Guilty as Charged podcast presented by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Very excited to be joined today by fellow Blue Wire Podcast member as well as a sideline reporter for the NFL Network, Taylor Bisciotti. Taylor, how's it going?
Hi, it's going well. How are you guys?
Good.
I was just pretty open of this about LA traffic. So
yeah, very excited to have Taylor on with us today. We're going to preview some of the NFL storylines with her today. We're also going to get her insight into her visit to the Chargers training camp and a couple of the preseason games as well. I actually want to start with this because I was reading that you used to do sidelines for the SEC network, and I've heard that there's been some Nick Saban horror stories that some reporters have had. Did you have any crazy experiences doing games with Nick Saban in the SEC?
No, I've had nothing but, actually, shockingly, because you do hear those horror stories, I've had nothing but amazing them. So I cannot say a bad thing about them. Honestly, that entire Alabama organization was run so well. I went to Alabama my freshman year before transferring to Georgia. And honestly, it was kind of like a bucket list thing to do, to be able to go to all those Alabama games and go to such an iconic, like, historic collegiate football school. So I've had nothing but amazing experiences there. I worked for Sporting News after college and SEC Network, obviously, but specifically for Sporting News, went to Alabama to do a few stories. And again, everybody there was amazing to work with. So fortunate for me, I have not had any of those horror stories.
He didn't give you the old, I'm not going to, so quit asking.
No. I guess I was limited. But
yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Like, just be a part of both of those schools, like Alabama, Georgia, honestly, every school in the SEC, and going to all those different games. I always say that there really is nothing like SEC football. And even after covering NFL games and seeing those tailgates, there's just something different in the air when it comes to SEC football. And just the entire town, especially in Tuscaloosa and Athens. And I know, like, Auburn, Alabama, or Auburn, Ole Miss, the same thing, where they just literally shut down. Starting on Fridays, the streets close down and everybody is revving up for football. It doesn't matter if kickoff is at 9 a.m. Doesn't matter if it's a 7 o'clock game, 6 o'clock. I mean, people they're out all day for it. And it's so excited. It's the only thing that people talk about throughout the week. It's like people live for football, and it's amazing. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it really is. It really, I had a friend who lived down in Baton Rouge for a couple of years. And he was always amazed at, like, how intense everything was, because I'm from Utah. And so, I mean, it's intense for Utah football, right? But nothing compares to SEC football, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree. I've never seen such, like, diehard avid fans who literally eat, breathe, and sleep football.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was a great story there for sure.
Get a little bit more of that in Los Angeles for the Chargers.
Yes, hopefully. It seems like they're on the right track.
Filled with that beautiful powder blue and gold and yellow this year, because honestly, this team deserves it. Jumping right in, even though you guys didn't ask me a question, I did on my other Blue Wired podcast, Let's Catch Up with Sam Patesh. We did our playoff predictions last night. I actually still have them right here. And he has the Chargers winning the division. I have the Chargers actually making the Super Bowl, but not winning the division. I still have the Chiefs winning the division, but I think that once they're in the playoffs, I do think that they're going to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. I just think that this team I really do. I feel like there's so much excitement around it. We saw what Justin Herbert was able to do after not having a preseason all this time, taking all those first team reps with the offense. And now he does have that. We're going to see, look what he accomplished last year. His ceiling is only going to keep getting higher and higher. He's just going to keep growing. And then I think that Brandon Staley, what he's able to do with this defense, and just look at what he did with the Rams last year. He took them to the number 1 defense overall. Previous year, they were probably 5th in the league. And so I was talking to actually Bradley Chubb the other day too, and he just said his defensive mind is something that he's never experienced before, even after Brandon left. And so you can already see that in training camp and in practices, and just speaking to the players about it, they're blown away. They're like, if I was on the opposing offense, I wouldn't know how to guard us. I wouldn't know how to block us. Like nobody's going to know what's coming from week to week. So I think that there's so much that's going to be going on with this team, not only offensively, but defensively.
Yeah, I mean, you've been at training camp and have seen some of the Chargers games this preseason. And what have kind of been your takeaways so far from Brandon Staley to all the other parts of the team?
I'm such a big fan of Brandon Staley. Like, it's easy to drink the Kool-Aid when you first go and for an extended period of time, except just from what I've seen of him so far, he's been nothing but like a class act, yet he still has these guys wanting to perform at their absolute best. He's not much of like a yeller on the practice field. You don't see any of that. He's not rah, 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 but he's got a way of speaking to the players that really resonates, and they're definitely rallying behind him. You can see that they are totally buying into what he's selling. I think it's going to be a recipe for success. And then you just look at some of this talent that's coming up. Somebody that stood out to me so far is Josh Palmer. And him, Keenan Allen on the receiving front. There's just so many offensive weapons. Austin Eckler is back and healthy. They've got Rashawn Slater protecting Justin Herbert's blind side. Austin Eckler is now going to be it's going to open up the field for him so much, having such a dynamic offensive line that is going to really create those holes for him. I think they're just going to be a really tough team to defend, all in all.
Well, they're going to be a tough team to defend, and they're going to be a tough team to score on, like you mentioned. The Super Bowl, though, Taylor, that's a bold heat.
Trust me, I know it was bold, but maybe it's me wanting it to happen. I don't know.
We want it to happen too.
I just am being I don't think that anybody's seen what they're going to do, and I think that like I said, I think they're going to be a really tough team to score on and defend because of the offensive talent and defensive talent. And I think that Brandon Staley is going to find a way to take this team last year that couldn't find a way to win a game, but was always right on the cusp, to the next level.
Well, let me ask you this as kind of a follow-up question. How did going to like training camp and preseason maybe change your opinion there? Or did you always feel like this team had the talent to be Super Bowl bound?
I definitely did not think so last year. I thought that they were right on the verge, and it was so frustrating each and every game. Not only just for selfish reasons, because I was teetering both sidelines, wondering which side I'm going to go interview after the game. Never had time to prepare questions, but just in terms of it was frustrating because you knew that they had the talent there, and their defense they just weren't cohesively working together, and they couldn't find a way to stop opposing teams. Yet you saw Justin Herbert's abilities in driving that football down the field and finding a way to make plays happen on offense that most other quarterbacks wouldn't have been able to do. Because not only did he have an offensive line that was struggling at times, but Eckler wasn't fully healthy. He really had his go-to target in Keenan Allen. And other than that, I mean, there was Mike Williams too, but I really felt like by seeing the way that Brandon Staley has really changed the coaching and the play calling and some of these schemes that they're running is really what sold me on the Chargers being able to take it to the next level.
Yeah, and I think the Chargers are obviously going to be one of those teams that's in the mix. I don't know if I have them in the Super Bowl yet. Me and Steven aren't quite that rah-rah about it. Even though we should be.
That would have been really boring, right?
Yeah, right. You definitely got the people going with that Super Bowl prediction. But yeah, it's just kind of going forward. What are some of your, regular season storylines, maybe the weeks 1 through 4, this kind of first month of the season that you're really excited to see around the league?
Well, something that we were speaking about right before we jumped on here too was probably the big news of the day, which is Cam Newton out, Mac Jones in, which I don't think anybody saw that happening. I think it was only 2 days ago. Belichick said, I'm not ready to name a starter yet. And even if I was, I'm not going to tell you guys until the game day. So I don't think anybody really saw Cam Newton getting cut, because from what we've heard, which honestly, maybe we're the ones that are fools, because we should just know by now that Bill Belichick says, basically playing for the opposite. But I remember midsummer before training camp, I guess it was voluntary OTAs. Bill Belichick all but said Cam Newton planned for him to be the starting quarterback week 1. And so he must have seen exactly what he needed to see in Mac Jones in order for him to be named starting quarterback. And I think that we were all very, very, very impressed with Mac week 1. I know I was kind of skeptical on that pick, and I was like, I just don't know if he's going to be the type of quarterback that's going to thrive in this offense. But I guess if you think about it, Bill Belichick will create an offense around, he's a system quarterback kind of guy, and so he feels like Mac Jones can thrive in this offense. So it's fascinating, and I still wonder, well, why wouldn't you keep Cam as the backup? Why are you going with Brian Hoyer? And that still makes me wonder, is it just something where he doesn't feel like Cam would be a good addition to the locker room? Does he feel like it'd be an unhealthy environment? Do you think that Mac Jones would always be looking over his shoulder and not wondering if maybe I should play it safer? I have no idea. I feel like only Bill really knows that one. But it's fascinating because we've all seen that Cam can be a number 1 quarterback.
Well, it actually adds to the confusion too, because in the last couple of hours, the Patriots also cut Brian Hoyer. So now they're down to, I think, it's going to be Jones and Stidham. So I don't know.
And that makes no sense. I'm lost.
Yeah, me too.
Well, it's so funny. Like, to me, the interesting thing there is that Belichick has such a strong history of like dominating rookie quarterbacks defensively. And so I never really pictured him like doing the whole rookie quarterback thing, like from the jump. So it really just adds a really interesting dynamic on that team.
I can't figure it out. I'm a little lost, but I did see a not funny picture, but Tom Brady, like they always do that big throwback from when he first started off in the league. And there was a picture of Mac Jones compared to Cam Newton and just like the different shapes. Cam Newton jacked and he had big guns, and like then it was Mac, and Mac is just he looked like Tom did.
Yeah.
Great description. And he looked pear-shaped. And I'm thinking, wow, this is kind of like a weird deja vu moment where you're thinking of Tom Brady, how he first started off. Maybe he's got this whole plan and we're all just going to be shocked this year. Who knows? I do not have in my predictions. Let me make sure. Yeah, I do not have the Patriots making it. I have the Bills winning the East.
Well, I was just going to ask you if you think the Patriots could challenge the Bills, but because it feels like everybody's kind of crowned the Bills as like the true contender towards the Chiefs. Obviously, if you have the Chargers making the Super Bowl, you feel differently.
No, I definitely think that. I think that the top teams are the Bills. I have the Chiefs winning the West. I just think that the Chargers will eventually be able to knock them off. I think they're going to need a couple of times going up against them, and I think they're going to be able to figure them out. And Brandon is a very obviously cerebral play caller, and I think he'll be able to find a way to out play call the Chiefs. Honestly, I think that the top contenders in the AFC are the Browns, Ravens, Titans, Bills, and I actually have all 3 teams in the AFC West making the playoffs. I know it's a stretch with the Broncos, but I loved what I also saw them in that first preseason game.
Any thoughts on that? Teddy Drew Lock competition that was kind of going on. Now Teddy's a starter. What kind of compared to the Chargers, right? They have Justin Herbert, who's obviously kind of this young, gunslinging quarterback, much like Josh Allen. But it seems like the Broncos are sort of in between quarterbacks a little bit. So what are some of your thoughts there?
Honestly, I did not know which quarterback was going to be named the starter. I was a little bit shocked by Teddy Bridgewater being named because I thought that it kind of limited them being able to stretch the field as much because Drew Lock can obviously sling it a lot farther. But I do feel like they are going to be a lot better this year because of that defense. Bradley Chubb is back. Von Miller is back. They haven't played together on the field healthy since 2019 week 4. So I just feel like them coming back is really going to tie that defense together. And then obviously they've added some incredible weapons on offense.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting one to see as well, because I feel like that really is like the only spot on the Broncos that really just needs to be solidified, because I feel like they have great receivers, great defense, like you mentioned. It's just like, how far can Teddy take them? And I don't really know the answer to that question.
Yeah. And another big question mark around the league, obviously, is Jameis Winston. I think that we all got that itch scratched when we saw what he was able to do in that third preseason game. That was incredible.
Yeah, and that leads me to, I kind of wanted to shift gears to the NFC, because it does feel like the AFC is a little bit deeper this year than the NFC. Obviously, you have the Buccaneers who won the Super Bowl The Packers are very talented, but they have the Aaron Rodgers kind of situation. How
Yeah.
do you see the top of the NFC shaking out this year?
I have Packers for the NFC North, and then South I have Saints and Bucks. East I have Cowboys, and then both the NFC West and the AFC West I've got 3 teams making it. So I have the 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks making it.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes a lot of sense given the picks and everything. I think the 2 West divisions are just insanely talented, and you could see 3 teams coming out of there, with the new playoff rules and all that. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Who do you actually have coming out of the NFC to challenge the Chargers in the Super Bowl?
Don't be mad at this pick. I went very basic on this one, but I went Bucks. How are they not? They were last. They've only kept all their talent and then added some. So unfortunately, I don't think that Tom will be regressing in any way, shape, or form. He just doesn't age.
Yeah, doesn't age.
He doesn't age. I thought for sure the Chargers would have his number in 2018, and then it just didn't work out. So really, until Tom Brady regresses, I just think we have to all assume that he's going to be great and be in the Super Bowl again.
Exactly. I mean, I just don't see it changing. I've never seen a team be able to keep as many starters as they have. I don't know how that happened. Maybe everybody just wants to play with Tom. Who knows?
Yeah.
Drink the
same TB12 protein shakes and all that. I mean, you can you go on that, right? Right. You can kind of go on that same regimen. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But I mean, anytime you have a chance to win a Super Bowl, we've seen veterans that, are willing to take less to do it instead of go somewhere else and chase that, paper. They want to chase that Super Bowl ring. And Tom Brady gives you the chance to do that year in and year out. So I guess here's the moment of truth. You have Chargers and Bucks. Who do you have winning it all?
Sam's going to kill me because I refuse to give an answer on the bot. I was like, I don't know. It's a toss-up at this point. I don't think we know. Honestly, it all depends on injuries and which team stays healthy.
True.
And that's always been the Chargers thing, right?
At home at SoFi, but who knows?
Man, that really would be truly something special if the Chargers could, be the second team in a row to host the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it's because that's my beat this year. So I'll be doing lots of Chargers coverage. So the better they are, the happier I am.
There we go. Some breaking news from Taylor doing the Chargers stuff. Are you doing for NFL Network or for the local broadcast?
For NFL Network.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So we'll be seeing a lot of Taylor around, which is going to be great. I think, that's, the more the merrier in terms of covering the Chargers. I think we're very fortunate with the reporters that we do have, but it's always good to bring some new energy into the media crowd for sure.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited about it. I'm actually going to Costa Mesa tomorrow. So I'll let you know if I see anything else that stands out.
Yeah.
It's been exciting to watch. So I'm excited to just be a part of it.
Yeah, we're excited to listen to your coverage. Chargers fans, make sure and follow her on Twitter as well, especially if she's going to be covering the Chargers. That's going to be a huge one to keep an eye on. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fantastic.
The sun is going down, and I should have turned the light on, but I didn't want to get up mid-podcast because it is very dark in here.
Oh, it's all good. We thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.